Imagine this for a moment. It's 2026. The Witcher 3 is more than 10 years old. A game that released in 2015. On consoles, they are now considered ancient for hardware that many of us no longer even own. And yet, people are still installing it, still modding it, still replaying it, still discovering new things, still standing quietly in Forest of the Velen just listening to Geralt say,
"Winds howling."
Most games fade, some are remembered, but a very rare few, they linger, they refuse to leave you, and somehow The Witcher 3 became one of those games. And that's why what's happening right now feels strange. Because after nearly a decade of silence, there are whispers, quiet at first, then repeated, then reported, then analyzed, then argued about. A possibility that sounds almost unreal, that Geralt of Rivia might not be done yet. That The Witcher 3 might be getting new story content, a new DLC in 2026. Let's start with the truth. As of today, CD Projekt Red has not officially announced a new expansion. No cinematic trailer, no logo, no release date. Nothing concrete, and that matters because the last thing any one of us want is false hope. But here's where it gets interesting. CD Projekt has confirmed something else. In 2026, they are releasing a major update for Witcher 3. Cross-platform mod support. PC, PlayStation, Xbox, all sharing the same mod ecosystem. For a 10-year-old single-player RPG, that is not normal, that is not cheap, that is not something studios do casually. It's the kind of update you make when a game still matters, when players still matter, when the world still matters, and most importantly, when a company hasn't still fully closed the book. CD Projekt Red could have easily left Witcher 3 exactly where it was, but instead they keep touching it, updating it, supporting it, keeping it alive. But studios don't usually do that, unless there's a reason. Now let's talk about where the rumors began. Not from Reddit, not from YouTube comments, but from industry analysts. People who study company budgets, hiring patterns, internal project pipelines, and long-term financial planning. One of them predicted something unusual, that CD Projekt Red may release a paid Witcher 3 expansion around May 2026. Not a tiny quest, not a cosmetic pack, but a real piece of content, something substantial, something marketable, something that could bring millions of players back one more time. And what made people pay attention was not just the prediction, it was the timing, because 2026 is when CD Projekt is deep into developing the next Witcher saga, a new trilogy, a new protagonist, a new engine, a new beginning, which raises a hauntingly poetic question. What if Witcher 3's new DLC isn't just extra content, but a farewell, a final letter, one last walk with Geralt before the world truly moves on? Then came the second layer. Polished game journalists, local industry insiders, people who live closer to CD Projekt than most of the world. Some of them quietly said, "We've heard about this for years," that something was discussed internally, that some form of new content existed on paper, that it never truly died. And slowly, gaming outlets around the world began connecting the dots. PC Gamer, Games Radar, Screen Rant, Nintendo Life, different countries, different journalists, same conclusion. But something is being prepared, or at least something is being considered very seriously. Fragments of lore that will only make sense once The Witcher 4 arrives. Not a loud bridge, but a subtle one, the kind you only recognize years later. Now let's slow down, breathe, and be honest. None of this is confirmed. No trailer, no announcement, no official title. This could all disappear tomorrow. Plans change, budgets shift, priorities evolve. But there is something deeply emotional about the idea itself. That a game which gave us so much might choose to speak one last time. Not loudly, not dramatically, but quietly, through a new story. A new final conversation, one more contract, one more road, one more sunset. And maybe that's why this rumor refuses to die. Because it doesn't feel greedy, it doesn't feel forced, it feels respectful. Like a studio looking back at its greatest creation and saying, "We are not done honoring you yet." And as players, as someone who once sat through the Bloody Baron story, who rode with Ciri through frozen worlds, who stood in Tucson under golden skies, it's hard not to feel something stir. Not hype, not excitement, but something softer, hope. So here's the truth. Right now, all we have are signals, patterns, predictions, whispers, and a calendar that points to 2026. Maybe nothing will happen. Maybe this is the end. And that's okay too, because The Witcher 3 already gave us more than most games ever will. But if the wind does shift, if CD Projekt finally speaks, if a teaser appears, if Geralt's voice returns one last time, then we won't just be getting new content, we'll be getting closure. So let me ask you something. Not as a gamer, but as someone who once lived in that world. If Geralt truly returned, where would you want him to go? What story would you want him to tell? And would you be ready to say goodbye one final time? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the path.